Ladies, welcome to the Group X podcast. It is so good to see you both. For those of you that are just listening and aren't tuning into the video recording here, I have Maria Teresa Stone and Marietta Mehanni. Did I say that correct?
Yeah.
Yep. Excellent. Good. Who are both from my group Move, and as part of the new series that I have going at the moment, I've got these ladies on to have a chat to them both tonight. It's a new one for me, chatting to two people at once, so we'll see how we go with that. But let's kick it off. So, Maria, do you mind if I ask you to quickly introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into the industry?
Absolutely. So my name is Maria. I was born and raised in Mexico. I'm the youngest of 11 children.
Love it.
And two of my siblings are in the fitness industry. And it was one of my sisters that started a gym in the 80s, late 80s. And I started going to her gym, to her studio. Back then it was just a studio. In the 90s, just for dance lessons. But then she was the one that encouraged me to become an aerobics instructor. So I did my aerobics course and I started teaching aerobics classes in August 1996. And then it evolved to teach aqua exercise classes, from kickboxing to cycling to a little bit of everything. And then Zumba came to my life in 2006 and I started teaching that program as well. And I work for Zumba fitness training instructors in the Australasia Pacific region.
Yep.
I'm based in New Zealand. I'm a mother of two children. And yeah, so basically been teaching for 26 years. I don't know. I've lost track of time, but yeah, I'm still teaching and I love it.
So again, you must have started when you were like 8 or something, yeah?
Yeah. Correct.
Love it. Marietta, can I ask you the same question then, please? Can you introduce yourself to us and give a bit of background on how you got into the industry and where you got to be today?
Sure. So my fitness journey, I guess, started when I was about 15 and I was a really, really overweight teenager. I lived in a small country town, 200 kilometres north of Melbourne. And this small country town was predominantly white, and there we were, one of the very few sort of ethnic families there. My background is Egyptian, but I was born in Australia. You can tell by that accent.
Yep.
So I was a really overweight teenager and I just didn't fit into anything. Sport was challenging and the girls played netball, the boys played cricket and football. I couldn't catch a ball and I never got picked for teams. So that summer, my dad was trying to find something for me to do and he decided to buy a 3-month gym membership at the new gym that just opened. And there was nothing like it in Kyabram. And so I started there and that's really where it started. It was the first time I felt, one, I was in a safe space. I was part of a community. And these people took me under their wing. And so 3 years later, I'm a lot more confident and they suggested I do the group fitness course. I didn't have any money. I was doing year 12 and I had no way of getting to the town that the course was being run 3 minutes away. So they funded it for me and I basically taught classes to work that off afterwards.
Wow.
And then I moved to Melbourne in 1990. So I did my course in 1989. Moved to Melbourne in 1990 and having no form of income, it was what I needed to do to actually be able to survive in Melbourne. So it started from very, very humble beginnings. And so I've gone through that whole aerobics era, which I've loved. And along the way, I became an aqua instructor. I now teach a whole range of different programs. Some I've created myself, like M-Swing, Gymstick. I started becoming the head of Gymstick education. I've done some work as the pelvic floor first ambassador for Continence Foundation of Australia. I have my own online membership. It's just flourished since then. Yeah, so it's been a real amazing journey. But of course, I think one of the things that I have really loved is being able to connect with Maria from my group Move.
I love hearing it. Thank you both so much for that introduction on both of you. I just want to touch very, very briefly, if I can, Marietta, the industry back in the late 80s, completely different to today, yeah? like completely.
It was like you're either an aerobics instructor or you're a gym instructor.
Yep.
And if you're an aerobics instructor, you taught 3 classes.
Yep.
You taught beginners, intermediate, or advanced.
Yep.
There wasn't step. There was no cycle. There was no yoga. Yoga was for weirdos. It really was at that time.
Yeah.
Pilates. I mean, no one knew what Pilates was.
Yeah.
And when it came in, I think in the late 1990s, people were going, "What's Pilates?"
Pilates,
Oh,
yep.
Donna does Pilates.
Yeah.
There was only 3 types of classes, which you basically used your own body weight. And it was low impact and high impact, and you did body weight exercises. And
Yeah.
and back then, you'll laugh at this. We didn't have choreography, so we would surround, the instructor would stand in the middle of the room, and there was a great big circle around that instructor. I think the first diversification, we used to run around in a circle and the instructor would go the opposite way, and that's how we would be able to make eye contact with the instructor. And then we'd stop and we'd do some exercise, and then we run around the other way. I swear I've seen this in a Les Mills body attack class.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I was like, oh, really? We're doing that? But it was very, very, very different time. Lots of high impact. And it was the aerobic leotard era, and
Yep.
the G-strings came shortly after that. So it was full bottom leotards then.
Yep. The amazing days.
Yes.
We've come a long way.
Yes. I think for the people that aren't watching, the people that are listening at home, I think my facial expressions may have given a little bit away there when you'd mentioned that there was no stage and you were training in a wow. Yeah, that's my brain struggles to fathom that, because ever since I've walked into a gym, there was a stage, there was the sound system, there was a microphone, there was all that kind of stuff there. That's all I know. So, it's like young kids these days when they're born, they were talking to my daughter the other day about mobile phones, and I showed her a picture of what we used to have in the house phone, and she was like, where do you look, Dad? And it was that I had that same moment just then when you were telling me about the studios how they used to be.
How we made our music, because there was no microphones, as you said. So we used to record music off the radio onto a cassette, and we would compile this music from the radio. Australian Fitness Network were the first ones that actually came out with music. But back then it was all original stuff, which was amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Music and Motion was the second company. I ended up repping for them for about 20 years. And so, back then we didn't have records. I've heard instructors talk about records.
No, yep.
That was before my time, but definitely recording off the radio onto a cassette.
Yeah, cassette.
Yeah. I used to love doing that when I was younger, though, sitting there and listening to the top 40, and you had to get their play and record button together at the same time. Yeah, it's like, now, oh no, I got him talking. Oh, damn it, I can't fix that later. No. Oh, that's fantastic. So the journey that you both had combined, how many years are we talking experience between both of you here? Easily close to 50 years. Over 50 years.
Yeah.
That's some experience. I'll be honest and say I'm right now a little bit starstruck to be sitting amongst people that have that. I've been around since 2003, and my my knowledge, I suppose, my understanding of the industry is so very, very different to what both of you have experienced. Now, I walked into a gym at a young age and did some weights, but then when I found the group exercise studio, it was a cycle studio. It was RPM. There was a dark room, there was really loud music, and it was a whole lot of rah going on, and that's all I've really ever experienced. I experienced a little bit of freestyle from instructors, but they were Les Mills trained instructors that were doing something different on the side. And so the format, I suppose, of what I saw was similar to a Les Mills program, but done in a freestyle, their own format type thing. So I appreciate so much hearing from both of you about what it was like and how the industry has evolved so much since then, but also the fact that my group move has come along and you're not replicating Les Mills. From the research and everything that I've looked at, and I'll ask you both to tell me a bit about it in a minute, but what I've looked at and what I looked into, is fantastic because you're using the skill set you've had and what you've learnt along your years, which I think is brilliant. But I'll start with you, Maria. Can you tell us a little bit about why MGM, My Group Move, came to be?
I think I'm going to go a little bit back when we met, actually, because I think it's important for people to know how it all came across. Me coming from a different world, I started working here in New Zealand and Australia because of Zumba, and traveling because of Zumba, and training instructors with Zumba at conventions presenting Zumba. And it was one of these fitness events in the early days of Zumba here in New Zealand and Australia would have been in 2000. No, oh my God, I'm losing track of time. 2009, Marietta? Yes, 2009 here in New Zealand, that we were presenting at the same fitness weekend, and the host introduced us. Hi, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. Walked away, taught my Zumba class. She walked away, did her thing. I don't know if you did step or something. But then later that same year, we saw each other at another fitness conference in New Zealand, up in Auckland. It used to be called Fitex. And again, hi. Again, later I think it was 2010, Filex in Sydney. Again, hello, hey, how are you? A colleague that I met in another fitness convention. And it kept going like that. We just kept crossing paths, but doing our own thing.
Yep.
And it was not until JSP, she's very, very well known in the aquatic world as an aqua fitness educator and creator. JSP, she said to us, you are going to be working together. Come up with a session and come and present at my conference in Melbourne. And we were like, what? You and I? All right. Because I was already, presenting Aqua Zumba. And Jenny knew that I could teach other things, but people didn't know that Maria Teresa could teach other things apart from Zumba, because everybody knew me here for Zumba, but they didn't know my background, that I started teaching freestyle back in the 90s. And I've been teaching since then. It's just that Zumba took over my life, And it was a program that I was representing, and I just dedicated my whole time to that. So Jenny challenged me, basically. Said, okay, come up with something else, and I provide you with a platform for you to showcase something with Marietta. And I'm like, wow, what an honor. So that was the first time we actually worked together. Yep. And then we realized we like each other.
Lucky.
And and we started doing more presentations together.
Yep.
And then I was already living in Sydney at that point. I called her because by then we were already really good, friends. And I called her and I said, I would like for you to come up to Sydney from Melbourne to run your presenter workshop. She used to have a presenter workshop. Yeah. And she's like, why, if you are already presenting? Right, Marietta? She's like,
I so remember this conversation because Maria, when we were talking about when we first met, that second event in New Zealand, I remember walking into the room and not seeing who was teaching. And I remember speaking to one of the people that were watching, who was the CEO of Fitness NZ. And I said to Richard, who's teaching? Like, I can't see them. And he said, Maria Teresa Stone. And I just was in just absolute awe because music was playing. I couldn't hear any instruction given, yet the whole 80 people were moving like this beautiful, like a sea of fish. They all were moving like at the same time. And I just was like, holy crap, like, wow.
Yeah.
And so when she asked me, and by this stage she was well known, Zumba had literally taken over everything.
Yep.
And it was Zumba in every corner. And I knew she was the one that was the person that was running these massive workshops. And I'm like thinking, what could this girl possibly learn from me? Like, I actually tried to talk her out of doing the course with me because I was thinking, I so don't want to disappoint her. I'm like, what am I doing?
This is the Group X podcast.
So at this workshop, so she did it, right? I convinced her. She came up and she basically, one of the drills, one of the things that we had to do over the weekend was to come up with a session name and description of a session that we would like to present at a fitness convention or a workshop that we wanted to present. And I don't know why, Tony, I thought body language is so important, how we come across, but we are not taught very well about body language in the fitness industry. But if you're a business person, oh yes. If you're into politics, oh yes. You know how to handshake perfectly, you know how to hold your gaze and everything. So I just came up, body language. That was the name of the session or something like that, and came up with the description. And then I had to present in front of my peers that were there, and obviously Marietta. And Marietta loved the idea. And she's like, we are going to present this together. I'm like, what? Really? You like it? Okay. So we applied to present at a conference that used to be run in Western Australia. It's no longer around. But we applied, we got in, and we traveled, and we did this presentation. It was a lecture around body language. And it just evolved from there, Tony. I'm going to pass it on to Marietta so she can carry on from there. So it's not just me taking over. But yeah, talk about, we started, moving around with that.
So after that event, and it was just a 1 hour lecture presentation, and we had the amazing Michelle Dean in that presentation, and she came up to us and gave us.
I was shaking.
So was I. I mean, she's a legend in freestyle and in Zumba and Les Mills.
Yep.
So when she gave us some positive feedback, I mean, we were pretty pumped. And I said to Maria afterwards, this has got legs. We can create a 3-hour workshop from this. So we basically ended up with a 3-hour workshop called Watch Your Body Language. And we had 2 other workshops that went with it, which were aqua workshops. So it was 3 workshops in one day, 3 hours each. And we traveled all around Australia, and I think we did some in New Zealand as well.
Yeah,
and
we did.
It was really, really, really successful. But in Watch Your Body Language, in that 3-hour session, we talk all about facial. It was a really popular presentation, and it didn't matter what you came from, because body language doesn't matter what type of class you teach.
Yep.
It's all relevant. But we would get them to do some stuff around non-verbal cueing. So they would face each other, they'd pair up, we'd put the music on, they couldn't say anything to each other. Let's do non-verbal cueing. And Maria and I, we would look at each other sideways during these sections and think, how is it that a good portion of the instructors in this room are not moving on the beat?
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't know how to phrase, like understand where the 8 blocks or the 32 counts were. And this kept repeating itself, and we could see a real pattern. Anyway, at one of the events in Melbourne, I offered people, if they wanted one-on-one coaching, I used to do a lot of mentoring free of charge. That's all I did. I never charged anyone for mentoring. I mentored people for years, 1 hour a week, and it was instrumental in my growth as a presenter and an educator, really get inside people's heads. And this girl didn't show up that said she was going to show up, and the appointment was at 6 a.m. in the morning. And I knew Maria knew her. So I get on the phone, I'm having a rant, like, who does that? Like, I was really pissed. And it was in that phone conversation that we realized that there was an opportunity here. Now, I've been running the Certificate 3 in group fitness for several years. I had my own manual, my own material. I did it for several different organizations. It used to be a 14-week course that would teach instructors how to be able to create their own classes from scratch, because that's what we did back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Maria asked me, did I own the content? And I said, yes. So fast forward, that was, I think, about 2017, 2018, we meet up in Sydney before one of our workshops. So we say that we dated for a while, and then we finally got married when we decided to register the domain name and register the business name.
I love it.
It was a my group move, meaning my group of people,
Yep.
and I'm going to make them move. I'm going to help them move and move more often and move in a way that pleases not just the participants, but also, the instructor can create their own class from scratch depending on who they're teaching in front of them.
Yep.
And basically a skill that isn't really taught much right now, or if it's taught at all.
Yeah.
And so that's how my group move was born.
I love hearing that. I love those stories. I love that connection. That as you said, then you dated for a little bit before you then got married, and a brilliant analogy, because it shows two worlds coming together, that two minds and two 20, 30, 40 years of experience each that you've had, to bring that together to go, you know what, there's a gap. There's a big gap here, massive gap in the market that we need to fill. We need to do something with it to be able to give instructors a skill set that they're lacking. I well done to both of you. My hats off to you both, because that's I just love hearing those stories, because it's people like both of you that help us change the industry for the better.
And I think one of the things that's really important to make a note here, we all get bright ideas. And bright ideas, I remember someone saying to me, it's never a good idea to actually follow through. And, when lots of people collaborate with other people, or they create partnerships, and they don't always last as long. Maria and I have been doing stuff together since, I don't know, what was it, 2013, 2014, we started doing workshops, and here we are almost 10 years later, having mutual respect.
Yep.
Our values align. We can give each other feedback without getting offended, because we know it comes from a place of we want to do well, and we want our partner to do well. And it's actually been, there's been a couple of times when we've gone, I disagree with you, but there's this, I suppose, this understanding and appreciation that that's okay.
100%.
Yeah.
I was about to say that's healthy. It's healthy to, it's like any normal relationship, isn't it? You're never going to get along, because if you always get along, I think if you always get along, one person's lying. Yeah. There's one person's always just trying to please the other. You've got to have those moments of going, you know what? No, I don't agree with you, but it's okay that I don't agree with you. And it's okay that we're not going to agree on this. We just need to agree to disagree and move through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. I like the respect that you both have for each other, and that you've brought all that together. So if you can, take me back, and I'll open up to either of you can answer this one. The first time that you presented once you got My Group Move together, what was the content and how did it go? How was the course delivered? Did you both do it? Did one of you do it? Can you remember?
Oh, we remember it clearly, because we had this, we planned this whole course. So we spent a whole day, like 2 days, I think, filming all this content. And I realized, I think about a week later, but sometimes I get these thoughts later, and I rang Marie and I said, I don't think that trying to put all of this together and launch it all out at the same time is a good idea. Why don't we just release modules? So at that time, it was online training, and we released the first one. I think it was in 2018. I remember it was in Florida, and it was Move to the Beat. And so we're not actually teaching it. It was an online course.
Yep.
And then we came up with the other online courses, Communication Connection, which is all about verbal cueing and how to communicate with your class. Then we came up with Choreography and Flow, which is basically the guts of it in regards to teaching methodologies and understanding movement patterns. And then we came up with the Art of the Start, which is the warm-up, and then Stretch and Release, the final piece, Stretch and Release. And then recently we just launched the Muscle Conditioning. And so there were individual courses that we had online, but we never ever taught it in person, because the reality of trying to deliver this in person meant that we needed a 2-day or a 3-day access to a venue.
Yep.
And that was, not only was it very, very difficult, but by this stage, we were like, okay, so how much will this cost for us to run, and will we get people? Then COVID hit. Maria, do you want to take it from here?
COVID, lovely thing.
COVID hit in 2020, and I was already living in New Zealand. I moved here in 2019. So for us, COVID was an opportunity. Again, talking about opportunity, because we were already in that space of delivering online. We already had content online. People were freaking out. The instructors were really frustrated and anxious because the gyms closed, everything closed. They cannot teach. So we were like, we got to do something. We need to shed, a little bit of a light of hope. We transitioned really quick to teach virtually. I started, and then Marietta followed after that with some phone calls, crying and trying to understand how to set things up.
Yep.
But eventually she got there. She got there, and now she's an expert, seriously, teaching virtually. But what I want to say is we started running free webinars.
Yep.
For group fitness instructors. Everybody, welcome. Come. We are going to be doing our bit, trying to support instructors.
Yep.
And I remember one of the webinars, we were still trying to figure things out. But one of the webinars was how to teach virtually. Like we were experts.
Yep.
But, we prepared this presentation. I took photos of what I was using, my LED light and what I was using. I started teaching DACast, using DACast, that platform. And then I moved to Zoom after that. But, that was one of the free webinars. But we did many free webinars, not just one during the lockdowns and the pandemic. And then we thought, all right, we have always wanted to go back and teach like workshops, not just the online modules, but workshops that like the ones that we used to do, the 3 workshops in one day. Yep. But we thought now virtual. And we thought, what about a group exercise conference? And we launched into that along with another conference called Aqua Immersion. Yep. For aqua instructors, because we do have a big following of aqua instructors, and yes, we wanted to provide education for them as well. So we started doing conferences. When was the first one? I think
2021.
2021, the first conference, and then 2022, yeah, we had the group exercise conference, and then the aqua immersion again. And then this year, I don't know when this podcast is going out, but hello, we're inviting you.
Yep.
On the 21st of May, we have the MGM.
This podcast will go out before that, so perfect timing. Absolutely perfect timing.
Yeah, so just go to mygroup.com and all the information is there. Brilliant. The conference brings not only Marietta and I as presenters, but we have 3 international presenters. One is Steve Bood, that has been around for as long as we have been around, like 30 years.
Yep.
His background, freestyle. He was a Nike ambassador, big in Europe. And he used to come to present at Filex. So many people from back in the day, they know him very well. Yep. He works now. He does his own thing, coaching, and he just wrote a book, but he also works for Zumba.
Okay.
And
yep.
He's like, amazing. So he's going to be presenting a session for us at the conference. Then we have Dave Leo. He's Kiwi, but lives in Australia. And he comes from a personal training background, but he's going to be presenting a session about sleep. So why sleep and recovery? Because as instructors, we need to look after ourselves 100%. To be able to show up and teach. So that's his session. And then we have Erin Brown. She lives in Auckland, New Zealand, and she's going to be teaching a muscle conditioning session using a balloon.
Okay. Yep.
So that sounds quite creative, and I'm actually looking forward to learn from them as well. From Marietta. Marietta is going to be presenting layering. So how to layer, Brilliant. How to do that successfully.
Yep.
And then I am going to be presenting a session about creating holistic experiences
Brilliant.
In class.
Yeah. Now, whereabouts is this going to be on at?
So it's going to be virtual.
Okay. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter where you are in the world.
Excellent.
You can connect.
Yep.
You can join us. We make the conferences very interactive. We use breakout rooms. We know how to run the conference because we've been doing it already for the last couple of years, and it's been very, very good, very successful. We're very proud of what we have created. And the cool thing about virtual is the fact that we can record.
Yes.
And then provide the recording afterwards, because you attend a conference in person, and while the experience is awesome, you walk out of there and you're like, I forgot already like half of what I learned. And with virtual, you always have access to the recording. You can watch
it again and again.
Many times. Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. So those of you that are listening, check out the show notes as well for this, but also jump onto the My Group Move website and you'll be able to find out more details there as well. This is the Group X podcast.
So I just wanted to add to that because, yes, we do have these conferences, but at the start of last year, I said to Maria, we've got these online courses. The sales for them had slowed down. And the goal was to present this as an entire course. So I said, girlfriend, there's an opportunity here. We can actually launch this as a coaching course.
Yeah.
So last year we launched the MGM Instructor Pathway 10-week coaching course. We're almost at the end of our third one now. And we get, actually it's really interesting because we were hoping to create new instructors in the industry. And as it worked out, we're actually attracting people who are currently instructors who want to either expand what they offer or improve their teaching skills. And this is across the board, whether it be water fitness or Les Mills or Zumba trained. So there's obviously the courses, there's enough generic stuff in there that they get a lot out of to be able to apply in their own classes.
Yeah.
And so with this 10-week coaching course, we show up every Monday night for the 10 weeks. We teach, we give them homework. We have a private Facebook group where they interact and they post videos of themselves teaching where we can give them, live feedback. And we've literally created this incredible community where these people really enjoy being in each other's company. They create friendships. They celebrate each other's successes. They pat each other on the back when they don't do so well, but it's okay because we're all going through something similar.
Yeah.
It's really it's magical. We're all about a group of people coming together as a community, and group fitness can be such a lonely industry. You're on your own, you go in, you teach a class, you leave, or if you're like me, you're virtual, you're not even going anywhere.
Yeah.
So, just to have somebody else bounce off and share ideas and things like that. So, yes, we've got one more week for the MGM Instructor Pathway. The next one opens in October.
Yep.
And people can access or have a look at that and sign up for that now on mygroupmove.com. And we really are excited about working with a brand new group of people. And, we get rave testimonials. We've never had anyone say that they didn't like it or they wish it was different or whatever. Maria and I are very, very proud of what we've done, and we really put as much time and effort to make it the best experience based on our own experiences going through other people's workshops and courses and going, okay, we can do better. And so we do.
I'm going to straight up now say thank you to both of you. Yeah. And thank you to the instructors that have jumped on so far and are looking to jump on to do it, because you can never, in my eyes anyway, you can never ever learn enough. Yeah, we're learning stuff every single day. And if you are an instructor who has gotten stale, he's a little bit bored or a little bit I've been doing the same thing for doing a course like what you've just explained and refreshing their skills or looking at ways to improve themselves so they can do and deliver that little bit different, I think it's amazing because right now, I mean, okay, yes, I'm only just reaching out to the other part of the world that's not Les Mills and understanding more things that are out there and seeing all these courses, but I've not come across anything yet. Yeah, and thank you to both of you, seriously, because there are so many instructors that I've chatted to that need this. Yeah, and I just hope that I can hope that more people listen to this to get it out there so we can get more people doing it, because I can just see how amazing that it is.
Well, we want to thank you, Tony, for providing us with a voice to reach out to the people who follow you, and a platform for us to share our story, our journey, and what we're really passionate about. Maria and I, we always laugh at the fact that, it's Maria, it's Marietta, it's my group move, it's move to the beach. We have so many courses that start with them.
Yep.
But, we really align in a lot of ways, and we bring different things to the coaching, and I think that provides a really well balanced approach to delivering exercise. And it's about empowering instructors. We do not want to take away from them. That's not how we teach. We want them to feel good after every session, to feel like that they can accomplish something, because learning some of these skills isn't easy, because it can really put people outside their box as far as what they know and how they've done things in the past. And all we want to do is just be in their corner. We also offer free Zoom one-on-ones during the coaching course so that we can touch base with each one, three of them. They get three of those. So, we want to invest in those instructors because we know that they not just represent My Group Move, but they also represent the group fitness industry. And that's really where our passion is. Yeah.
Do you think that it'd be something that you would look at doing as a face-to-face event one day? Talking in the future, I'm not talking by the end of this year, but I'm talking, is it something that's on the cards that you would look at to go, you know what, if we found the right venue or we're invited to something, would it be something you'd consider?
I mean, it sounds great. At this moment, I don't think we know if that's going to happen. Yep. But if we get demand, if there is demand, there is people there like saying, come to us, we really need you. And there is a group, fantastic. Because otherwise, Tony, what's going on right now is flights are really expensive, accommodation is expensive, and it will be two of us traveling, me from New Zealand, her from Melbourne, to go to Adelaide or Perth. But we have had this question before from other instructors, even instructors that are doing the instructor pathway, because they have enjoyed it so much. They want for their peers to also experience it. And they have asked, like, would you come to us? At this point, we don't know, but we're open.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing that we need to also take into consideration, there's a lot of skills to learn.
Yeah.
And when you spread it out over 10 weeks, it's not like a crash course in trying to learn content. There's a lot of video content online as well. And you know what it's like. You go in, you do a crash course on the weekend. You remember bits, the start, the end, the bit in the middle is the part. And I think the reason why this course is so successful is that it's drip fed,
And they have homework every week. You need to complete this module. You need to do this bit, whatever it is. We break down the 10 weeks into different, material that they need. So we hold their hands until the end. So that would be hard to do in one weekend. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah.
No, I like that. I think of that only because there's ideas for me with Group X for the future, trying to get people together, trying to do some big events. And I throw the question up there because you just never know. You never know what the future holds. But I'm just going to park that in the back of my mind or stick it over there on my whiteboard over there somewhere. And we may revisit that.
Absolutely. Keep us in mind.
Yes, I like it. So what else can you tell me about My Group Move that if I was, I'm going to say like the when I have hair, it's blonde. Okay, there's a tiniest little bit there. But when the blonde that I am, if I was to look online, what am I going to take away from My Group Move that you haven't already discussed with us so far this evening? And I know that's throwing you both on the spot because now you have to think about, oh, hang on, what did we actually say? But
well, not so much about the learning, but the outcome of completing the instructor pathway is that the instructor, apart from creating their own workouts, they will have the confidence to be able to set themselves up anywhere that they want to. If they want to work for the gym, the boutique studio, or they want to teach virtually, or they just want to teach to their local community in the local community hall or the church hall, they can do that because we just open up their eyes to the possibilities that are out there. And because we both have a lot of experience, like we've been there and done pretty much everything. Like I've worked for so many gyms and health clubs, club chains, Marietta as well. Now we're teaching virtually. I still teach some classes virtually. Marietta teaches virtually every day. I teach in my local community. I work at the aquatic center, but I also hire a hall. Right now I'm hiring a church and I'm teaching there Zumba. So, if they ask us, we probably have an answer to their question because between the two of us, we have done a lot of different things. So it does help the fact that they will come and gain lots of skills, but we can hold their hand and show them what they can do after they complete the course, where they can go.
Yep.
If I can add something here, one of the things that is a selling point with the NGM instructor pathway is there's no ongoing fees. Mm-hmm. They pay one fee, they get lifetime access to the online material plus the recorded sessions that happen every Monday night. They do not need to purchase a specific type of music. We do recommend, using things like power music or yes music, so that they have music but they get to choose what they want to use.
Yes. Yep.
And they can create their classes. We have a saying, teach, give a man a fish, he eats for a day, but teach him how to fish, he eats for a whole lifetime.
Yep.
And that's really where we're coming from. We don't want them to be attached to us with this ongoing, payment or anything like that. We want to give them wings, watch them fly, be there in their corner, be there for them if they ever want to reach out to us to bounce off ideas or deal with some challenges that they're facing. We're always there for them, but it's not okay now, so that makes us unique. Yep. That's a unique selling proposition that we have. Yeah.
Another question that's just popped into my mind is, you're both doing virtual and online. How do you find teaching to a camera instead of teaching to humans in the same room? Because I've never done it, but I've obviously chatting and doing all these podcasts. It's chatting to people online and it's, that environment. But I can only imagine that teaching to a group of people in an online environment, because you're looking at that. That's just a piece of plastic and whatever it may be. That's not. No, there's no emotion there. I can't see their facial expressions properly. I can't feel that energy. How? Look, the thing that I'm going to say, I love the hand gestures and all the everything that, Maria, that when you speak, I loved it, because even the other week when we were chatting with the Zumba one as well, your energy and your theatrics that you come across when. The listeners can't see it all, but it's absolutely amazing. Your energy is infectious when sitting in front of you. So I think I've answered my own question really when I've asked it. But it's very different, isn't it? It is very, very, very different teaching.
Well, I still have a huge screen where I can see everybody in gallery view.
Yep.
And I am interacting with them. Okay, they're not interacting back, but let me tell you, Australian participants don't interact back with the instructor.
Yeah.
When you're standing on stage and you're wooing and everything, and everyone's a blank face looking at you, I think that's way harder than the fact that everyone's muted.
Yep.
And they're not like you don't want to woo. But I have to tell you that when people show up for Zoom, there's a few things that are different. One, they've chosen to be there just because it's you.
Yep. Yep.
not because it's the right time slot or the right class format that they like. These are the two main reasons why people will go to a class. There's always three, right? Time slot, class format, and the instructor. And
Yep.
each participant will put it in a different order.
Yeah.
But when people come to my Zoom classes, they want to spend the time with me.
Yep.
They value what I have to offer. And so I find that technique correction is so much easier. They're way more receptive. They're way more paying attention to what they're doing. And so I've made some incredible, I started off with people at the start of COVID who had quite poor quality movement that now, after teaching a actual live gymnastic class in Christchurch on Saturday, I'm like looking at my regulars on Zoom going, my God, you guys are like Olympic athletes now.
Yep.
Like the way they hold themselves and they move so well. And that's been my influence. I'm aware of that, but also their desire to, is she talking to me when I give a piece of feedback?
Yep. Yep.
So, and then I can give them praise, like, oh, you're doing that really well. I use their names. And then at the end, I hang around after the class is over.
Yep.
So the class is over. I record everything on another camera. That's not a Zoom camera. And then I hang out with my participants. We know each other so well. And these people come from all over Australia and New Zealand.
That's brilliant.
And it's the coolest thing.
Yep.
It's a real community. And these people visit each other. They ask about, things that are happening in each other's lives.
Yep.
Hey, I mean, I don't know. I just see it being pretty much almost better than what would happen if the gym where people would just not talk to anybody and wouldn't even know anyone's name.
Yeah.
So,
This is the Group X podcast. No, as I said, I've never done it before, and I just imagine, from a bike background, you mentioned about people not saying much. I was always the cheeky bugger, and I'd get people to engage on a bike, and turn to the person next to you, and stupid things like, "Oh, is that all you've got?" You bring in any more than that, but just cheekiness with that, and it was probably my personality as well. But I look at that from if I was to teach an online cycle class. Now I know that a lot of people don't have bikes at home, but those that do could jump on and engage. It would be really difficult for me to teach a class like that because, even though you would have the screen, as you said, you've got your big screen with all your participants there, a bike class, they're not moving. Yeah, it's just, it's like a newsreader. You don't really see what's happening down below. The legs are going 100 miles an hour, especially if it's on Zoom, unless they've got their camera far enough back where you can actually see what's going on. But I think then you sort of lose that interaction with facial expression and that kind of stuff. So, but interesting to hear. Interesting to get an insight into you teaching online and the engagement you've got as well.
Yeah. It does take practice to just look at that camera lens.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I can't do it. I'll do it occasionally, and I can look back down where I am. I'd like to ask you both then a question about the industry and things that you really like and things that you maybe dislike within the industry. Marietta, I'll throw it over to you first. What is it about the industry our industry, the group exercise space in the fitness industry, that you really, really love?
Okay. I think now being I'm 51 now, so your perceptions of the things that you really like change as you get older. And one of the things that I am really enjoying now is making a difference. We say this, and it's a throwaway line, making a difference in people's lives, but there's a lot of people that are this side of 50 that are concerned about the aging process, concerned about their level of independence in the future. I mean, they're dealing with parents that they're having to put into nursing homes or get assisted living and assisted care. And so they're very much aware of the fact that if they don't address certain things now, and I just did this in my aqua mentoring group. I have an aqua mentoring membership, and we talked about the 8 levels of functional aging, and being able to really provide those types of classes, which I know is going to really help them as they move forward, and getting that feedback about, we're not talking about people that are in their 70s or 80s here, although I do have some people who join me at that age group, but I'm talking about, predominantly women, age 50 through to 60, that really are noticing some major physical changes going through menopause, and are scared about what the future holds. And they're much more aware of the physical changes that are happening each year. So for me, what I love about this industry is that with freestyle, I can actually create the sorts of programs based on the research that comes out. And I love research, I'm a bit of a science brain, and being able to apply that in a class format that makes sense. And having that skill set means that I can do that. And it's so cool to be able to come up with my own programs. I love that. I love the freedom that I can do that. And so that's, now with virtual, I can now reach way more people than what I could do when I was working inside a gym, where the people who lived in that location who would pay a gym membership. Now the barrier is so much lower because they can keep the camera off. They don't have to pay a lot of money, and they can be at any location. Of course, I record it so they can access it on my online membership. And now with My Group Move, we've got this ability to basically do what I did for a really long time, but had to stop doing it because no provider was wanting to include the group exercise module, and now we can do it. So the industry in Australia is wonderful because it's not government regulated. As though some people are like wanting that to happen, I think we're self-governing. We're pretty good about, maintaining registration and maintaining our CEC points and things like that, which we offer through My Group Move. But it's not like, say, Brazil, where you have to have a university degree to teach a workout. So that, I think, is one of the most amazing things about the fitness industry, in particular in Australia.
Brilliant. Maria, what about yourself? What do you love about our industry? What is it that you absolutely just go, you know what, this is why I do what I do?
Oh, I love the fact that it's actually a small industry. If you think about it, it's incredible. Like just over the weekend, we attended. Marietta and I saw each other for the first time in 3 years and 2 months, because she came over to Christchurch for a conference.
Love it.
And it was awesome to be there because I got to see a lot of my colleagues and friends that I haven't seen in a long time since, Filex in Australia and they were here, and I'm like, and just reconnecting. It's a small industry, even though, Australia, is a much bigger country compared to New Zealand, but the industry, we kind of know who's who in the zoo. And then you have your own community with your local instructors, and then you have obviously your community with your own like clients and customers. And I love that. For me, it's like my extended family. Not having my blood family in this part of the world. This is my people over here.
I love that. I love that.
I love that.
Both of those answers have been honest, and I really appreciate that. Flip it on the other side. What is it that needs to change? What is it in our industry that not needs to, because that's probably the harsh way of saying it, but what is out there that we could probably be doing better?
Well, let's start by saying that the only constant thing in life is change. And I think for us, it's important to embrace change. Change came really harsh with COVID. And we had to adapt. And for a lot of people, it was very hard. And from others were like, I'm just going to go with the flow and ride this wave. Wherever the instructors are at right now, or people in the industry are at right now, post-COVID, in their businesses and so on, keep going, keep moving forward, because as long as you are driven by your passion and your purpose to serve your community, you will do well, as long as you don't lose track of that. So I guess for me, this is just a message that I wanted to pass on. But what I want to say also is more a reminder as well, just to be inclusive. Inclusive inclusive, and it needs to come from up down, just to be welcoming of everybody and anybody, because we're all here for the same reason.
Yeah.
We just want to get people to move more often, move better, so we can have healthier communities, and less people sick, and less people unwell up here, and it benefits everybody. So don't get sidetracked with other things. Just
Marietta, what about yourself?
Instructor wellbeing is something I'm incredibly passionate about. Instructors, I have an online workshop, two online memberships, and with my virtual workouts with Marietta, 85% of my members are instructors, which is interesting. Of course, my aqua mentoring, they're all instructors. And so I get to talk to instructors a lot. And one of the things I feel that could definitely improve in our industry is providing the support and things around the well-being of the instructor, which is why with my group move, we actually always have a session on, improvement of the well-being of the instructor. And I think that that's really, really important, because we need instructors to last a little bit longer than what they are. And it is about longevity at this point, because we do have this massive shortage of instructors. And it's, people often talk about it's the money. I honestly believe that when an instructor feels valued and respected by management, often instructors stay because of the participants in their class, and they'll talk, oh, I love my members, etc. But you don't often hear instructors going, oh, I love my coordinator, or I love the management that I work for. And, when I was a coordinator, I made that a mission so that I had a waiting list of people who wanted to work for me, because I looked after my instructors and gave them monthly workshops that didn't cost them anything, and one-on-one mentoring, and all of these sorts of things are value adds that don't cost, like an increase in wage, but an instructor feels valued, respected, supported, instead of them always having to go outside that. And if you do that, you end up with a team that is incredibly loyal to your facility. And I think that's one. And the second thing is, I'd love to see this industry be way more proactive with tapping people on the shoulder that are in the group fitness room that show promise.
Yep.
There's almost like this fear, oh, I couldn't ask any of my members if they would become instructors. But if you ask any instructor, they would talk about somebody had actually said, hey, I think you'd be a great instructor. We all are.
Yeah.
I mean, just about everybody. That's not happening much anymore. It happens a lot in New Zealand.
Yep.
It's a culture in New Zealand.
Yep.
But it virtually doesn't happen in Australia. And so I'm not really quite sure about what's going on here in regards to the pedestal, or, that, I'm on a stage and no one else can be. I don't really know what's going on here.
Yep.
But I think if it comes from the top down and say, hey, let's start approaching some of our members who show some real promise. You help them through the training, you nurture them through the process, you end up with this incredibly loyal team. And I had that success as a group fitness manager, and I loved it. I loved being the group fitness manager. Now, let's face it, how many people would say that? There's always like the headache, the nightmare, the feelings.
Yeah.
But towards the end of it, I never had to find any covers. The instructors took care of each other, and they were mentoring other instructors. It was sort of like this process that then had this waterfall effect, that when a new instructor came on board, they were being mentored by someone else who'd also been mentored, so it had its own rhythm. And that is something I would love to see happen more and consistently. And I know that our group fitness community would thrive on that.
100%. I can't agree with you anymore on that. You've summed up something that's been sitting in my head that I haven't been able to articulate to get out. And I appreciate listening to that, because, my big thing is Group X managers need to have a proper skill set. They can't just be the best instructor on the timetable and get in there and go, yeah, cool, I'm the Group X manager and here I go. There's a whole lot more skills that come with it. And what you just touched on then is, one, to be able to pass on to the instructors to say, hey, look in your class for me. Who's in your class that your member that goes above and beyond, that is theatrical, that is like me, the guy that was on the the second row, the fourth bike around underneath the fan and the speaker that was singing and carrying on a bike, you know. And Shannon Cleary tapped me on the shoulder virtually and said, "Oi, you, get in here, I need to have a chat to you." You know, that, as you're saying, we don't have that stuff happen anymore. And most instructors that I've chatted to, most of the trainers and presenters, that's where they started from. Someone tapped them on the shoulder and said, "Hey, have you thought about this?" We're not just born instructors. We don't just sort of pop in one day and go, "Hey, I'm going to do this. You know, this is what I'm going to do."
That's
No,
right.
it's someone else that sees it in us, and that someone else is a Group X manager, or is someone else is a Group X instructor who's in front of us that goes, "Hey, Joe, I think you've got what it takes.
Yeah.
Mate, have you ever thought about this?" Or, you know, whatever it may be, whoever it may be, I think, you know, we've got to, as you said, we've got to open our eyes, and that's how we're going to continue to grow as an industry.
Yeah.
I seriously love that. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for bringing it up on this platform as well. I greatly, greatly appreciate that, because it's those of you listening, you know your homework. Yeah. Not going to happen overnight, but over the next couple of years, this is what we want to see. Yeah. Get out there and start finding the next lot of instructors and help them. You know, Group X managers, if your instructor finds someone and that person comes on, flick them a thank you in some way, shape or form, whatever it may well be, whether it's a monetary incentivization or gift card or whatever, at least thank them in some way, because they're going to help your business continue to thrive.
And just, Tony, I think that the missing part is, yes, you can pay for the course, but it's more important that you nurture the instructor
Yes.
as they go through the training, as you need to hold their hand. It's a big deal to go from the group fitness floor to the stage. Like, it's a big deal. And instructors have been teaching for a long time. I have totally forgotten what it's like to do that. And when you tap someone on the shoulder and say, "Hey, you can become instructor," then start to connect the dots nice and close together.
Yep.
Here's a course. Here's a website. Hey, do you want to come into the office? I can show you how you can sign up. Now, if you do this, I had a contract with my people that I would tap on the shoulder and say, "This is what I promise you.
Yep.
And in return, this is what we'd like to do together."
Yeah.
And it was so successful. And there are times when I think about those times that I miss coordinating, but I have my group move now, and I love it.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
I'm going to cast my mind back for a moment. I remember when I was presenting the group fitness management seminar for Les Mills back when I started in 2012. And one of the biggest events that we had, there were 79 people rock up, and the biggest one that Les Mills had ever had. And I did it differently. You know, I sent out letters to people instead of just throwing something online. It was done in a different tact, and it worked. We got a lot of people there. But I remember one of the girls in there, and I won't mention names I don't want to embarrass people, but it was a Group X manager that turned around and said, you know, we send these people off to module training and they come back passed, but they're shit. And I sat for a minute before I responded, and I just went, "So what are you doing back in club to grow this person? You can't send an instructor away to module training who's brand new and expect them to come away from any course, whether it's a Les Mills course, whether it's a Zumba course, a Metafit course, a ASOR course, or whatever course it may be. You cannot expect someone to come away being a gun top training instructor, no matter who they are. Yeah, even if they've been doing this for 10 years, it's brand new, something that's brand new. It's got to come back to club, and it's got to come back to the mentors in club or whoever's signed off to say, "Hey, you know what? Yeah, I reckon you can go and do this. You're representing my club. So I'm, as a Group X manager, as an owner or a manager of a club, I'm going to work with you to make sure that you're going to have longevity here. You're going to bring you up. I'm going to make sure that we work with you to have the right skill set, so that, one, I know that you're going to be the right fit for my club. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to fit with the other instructors that are here, but also the other instructors that are here, I know at any time I can rely on those instructors to help you if you're not hitting the mark for some reason. Yeah. If I can't as a Group X manager, I've got a team that's going to be able to help you. And I think it's, as you said, it's got to come back to those in club.
Yeah. Take responsibility.
The leadership at that level.
Yeah.
I so vividly remember that conversation. It was it's stuck with me for a while, but it's clubs can't just send someone off to training and go, "Yep, good luck."
Give them a blessing.
I mean, if Shannon Cleary had done that to me back in 2003, set me off to the module training, and then I come back, no help, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be sitting here talking to both of you today. I wouldn't have the skill set. I was great in the corporate world. I could walk into a boardroom meeting and sit there and talk about telecommunications, which is where I came from. I could talk about that for hours. But when it came to this, was totally new. I had Shannon work with me for a good 3 or 4 months to make sure that I had the right skills. I also went out and I found other instructors I could mentor. And my point with this story is that if there's new instructors that are out there that are looking to get into the industry, chat to people. Make friends. Yeah. Chat to your best instructor. Chat to the worst instructor. God, just chat to people. Yeah. So many things can come from having decent conversations like what we've had here tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ladies, thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for saying yes when I reached out as well to come on and have a chat and share everything about My Group Move. I've seriously, and I know I say this to everyone, but I've loved this. Love chatting to two ladies that I've met and chatted to online in a virtual space, because I don't think, Maria, you and I met many years ago, as I said, when fitness first days when I was trying to dance and I can't dance. And Marietta, I don't think we've met face to face yet. So I can't wait for the day when the three of us are in the same room. So seriously, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you're doing. And thank you for inviting us, for trusting us.